Before gunpowder, before cannons, before firearms changed warfare forever, the sword was the ultimate symbol of power. For thousands of years, civilizations rose and fell by the blade. From the deserts of Egypt to the steppes of China, each culture forged weapons that reflected their way of war. These weren't just tools of violence. They were symbols of authority, craftsmanship, and the iron will to survive. In this video, we'll explore 7 legendary swords from the ancient world. Each one tells a story of the warriors who wielded them and the empires they built. The Khopesh emerged in ancient Egypt around 2500 BCE during the Bronze Age and remained in use through the New Kingdom. Its distinctive sickle-shaped blade combined cutting power with tactical versatility. The outer curved edge delivered devastating slashes, while the inner hook could catch shields, disarm opponents, or pull enemies off balance. Egyptian bronze workers crafted these weapons to measure roughly 50 to 60 centimeters. Though shorter than later swords, the Khopesh's curved design concentrated force at the striking point, making it brutally effective against lightly armored infantry. Temple reliefs at Karnak and Luxor show pharaohs wielding the Khopesh in battle scenes. Tomb paintings depict it as a symbol of royal power and divine authority. When Howard Carter opened Tutankhamun's burial chamber, he found ceremonial Khopesh blades adorned with gold inlay and precious stones, proving their status beyond mere weapons. In combat, the Khopesh excelled at close quarters. Its weight distribution allowed powerful downward strikes that could shatter bones through leather or linen armor. Egyptian soldiers used it alongside spears and shields, drawing the Khopesh when formations broke and fighting turned personal. Though iron weapons eventually replaced bronze across the Mediterranean, the Khopesh remained Egypt's signature blade for over 1,000 years, a symbol of the civilization that ruled the Nile. The Xiphos. The Xiphos was the Greek hoplite's sidearm, carried from the 7th century BCE through the Hellenistic period. This double-edged short sword measured between 50 and 60 centimeters, with a distinctive leaf-shaped blade that tapered to a sharp thrusting point. Greek warfare centered on the phalanx, dense formations of armored spearmen locked shield to shield. The primary weapon was the dory spear, but when spears shattered or formations collapsed into chaos, hoplites drew their Xiphos. In the brutal press of close combat, where men fought face-to-face with nowhere to retreat, the Xiphos became essential. Its design prioritized thrusting over slashing. The leaf-shaped blade delivered lethal stabs between gaps in armor or over the rim of a shield. Greek bronze and iron examples recovered from burial sites show consistent craftsmanship across centuries. The Xiphos appears throughout Greek art, from red figure pottery showing warriors in combat, to temple friezes commemorating victories. At Marathon, Greek hoplites closed with Persian infantry, their Xiphos finishing what their spears began. At Plataea, when the phalanx shattered Mardonius's forces, the Xiphos cut down fleeing Persians in the final moments of battle. Sparta's warriors carried shorter variants, optimized for the tight, disciplined fighting style that made them legendary. The Xiphos wasn't flashy or ceremonial, it was functional, deadly, and built for one purpose: keeping you alive when everything else failed. The Gladius. The Gladius was the weapon that built an empire. From the 3rd century BCE through the 3rd century CE, Roman legionaries carried this short, brutal sword across 3 continents, carving out the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. Rome adopted the Gladius from Iberian warriors during the Punic Wars, recognizing its devastating effectiveness. The Gladius Hispanensis measured roughly 60 to 85 centimeters, featuring a broad, double-edged blade with a sharp point. Unlike weapons designed for slashing, the Gladius was built for thrusting. Roman training emphasized short, controlled stabs from behind the scutum shield. Legionaries fought in tight formations, shoulder to shoulder, stabbing methodically at exposed flesh. The Gladius required minimal space to wield, making it perfect for the disciplined cohort tactics that made Rome unstoppable. Ancient historians documented its effectiveness with brutal clarity. Polybius described how Roman soldiers used efficient thrusts to devastate enemies who relied on wild slashing attacks. Livy recorded Macedonian soldiers horrified by wounds inflicted by Roman blades, describing bodies torn open by precise, repeated stabs. The Gladius was present at every major Roman victory. At Cannae, though Rome lost the battle, legionaries fought to the last with their gladii. At Zama, Scipio's veterans used them to break Hannibal's final army. At Pharsalus, Caesar's legions cut through Pompey's forces in brutal close combat. Thousands of examples have been recovered from Britain to Syria. each one a reminder of Roman discipline. The Gladius wasn't just a sword, it was the tool of empire, the blade that conquered the known world. The Falcata. The Falcata was the weapon Rome feared before they conquered it. Between the 5th and 1st centuries BCE, Iberian warriors wielded this forward-curved blade with devastating effect, particularly among the fierce Celtiberian tribes of modern Spain. Measuring around 60 centimeters, the Falcata's single-edged blade curved forward, concentrating enormous force at the tip. This design delivered chopping power that could cleave through helmets, shields, and armor. Iberian smiths forged falcatas from high-quality iron, often decorating the hilts with intricate animal shapes or geometric patterns. Roman historians recorded the terror these weapons inspired. When Hannibal marched on Rome during the Second Punic War, Iberian mercenaries in his army carried falcatas. Livy wrote of Roman soldiers shocked by the damage these blades inflicted, cutting through shields and mail that should have protected them. The Romans respected the falcata enough to study it, incorporating elements into their own Gladius design. Archaeological excavations across Spain reveal falcatas buried with warriors, accompanied by ornate scabbards and ceremonial goods, marking them as weapons of status and skill. The falcata required expert craftsmanship to forge and considerable training to wield effectively. Its bearer was no conscript but a trained warrior. Though Rome's conquest of Iberia eventually ended the falcata's use, it remained one of antiquity's most effective cutting weapons. The Spatha. The Spatha evolved from Celtic longsword traditions and became Rome's cavalry sword, serving from the 1st century CE through the empire's final days. Measuring 75 to 100 centimeters, it featured a straight double-edged blade suited for mounted combat. Unlike the Gladius, designed for packed infantry formations, the Spatha's length allowed cavalry to strike down at foot soldiers or duel other riders. Roman auxiliary units, particularly Germanic and Celtic horsemen, carried Spathas as standard equipment. By the 3rd century CE, even legionary infantry began adopting them as Roman tactics shifted toward more mobile warfare. The Spatha appears in military finds across the empire's frontiers, from Hadrian's Wall to the Rhine-Danube border. Its design directly influenced early medieval swords, forming a link between Roman tradition and the weapons of the Migration period and Viking Age. The Spatha represented Roman adaptability, incorporating the best elements of conquered peoples into imperial military practice. As the empire fractured and transformed, the Spatha remained, carried by the soldiers who would become the warriors of medieval Europe. The Kopis. The Kopis was ancient Greece's answer to cavalry and open-field combat. This single-edged forward-curving blade measured roughly 65 centimeters and delivered powerful chopping strikes. Unlike the thrusting Xiphos designed for phalanx warfare, the Kopis excelled when warriors had space to swing. Greek pottery and sculpture frequently show the Kopis in cavalry scenes, particularly among Macedonian and Thracian warriors. Alexander the Great's companion cavalry likely carried Kopis-style weapons during their legendary conquests from Greece to India, cutting down Persian cavalry and infantry across a dozen battlefields. The blade's curve concentrated striking force at impact, making it effective against armor and flesh alike. It appears alongside the Xiphos in archaeological contexts, suggesting Greek warriors chose weapons based on tactical needs rather than rigid tradition. The Kopis influenced weapon design across the eastern Mediterranean, with similar blades appearing in Thracian, Persian, and Scythian contexts. Though overshadowed by the more famous Xiphos, the Kopis served Greek warriors effectively for centuries. The Dao emerged in China during the Shang dynasty, around 1600 BCE, and evolved continuously for thousands of years. Early bronze Dao were short, single-edged blades used in combat and ritual. By the Han dynasty, iron and steel Dao had become standard military issue, with blades reaching 60 to 90 centimeters. Chinese infantry and cavalry both carried Dao, adapting designs to specific tactical roles. The single edge allowed powerful slashing attacks, while the reinforced spine provided structural strength. Han military manuals describe Dao techniques emphasizing fluid motion and continuous cuts, engaging multiple opponents in flowing sequences. The Dao appears throughout Chinese art, from Han tomb reliefs showing soldiers in formation to Tang paintings depicting cavalry charges. It was present at countless battles, from the Warring States period through conflicts with the Shogun and beyond. Unlike Western swords that emphasized thrusting through armor gaps, the Dao represented a different combat philosophy: speed, adaptability, and flowing strikes that overwhelmed opponents through continuous pressure. The Dao's influence spread across East Asia, shaping Korean and Japanese sword development. The Dao remains one of history's most enduring weapon designs, still practiced in traditional Chinese martial arts today. It survived dynasties, invasions, and technological revolutions, a testament to its effectiveness and the culture that created it. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.